of new players enter the animation arena, and they mean business. You're watching Beyond the Trailers review of the Book of Life.
This Halloween. Whoa! Please help me reunite with the love of my life.
Stay here with us.
We have epic fiestas every day.
All you can eat churros.
Comes an adventure.
You're so strong, Joaquin.
Thanks, I work out a lot.
Unlike anything you've ever seen.
Why don't you pick on someone your own size?
Cause no one's that big, man.
Hey, buddy.
Back when Walt Disney was alive and pioneering the medium, animated movies were a painstaking process that took years to complete. And at every level you needed more or less someone who could draw. Now just ask any comic book publisher today and they'll tell you that's a very small talent pool. I mean, you don't just have to be able to draw, but you need to be able to animate motion. It's like everyone can draw a comic book cover, but very few can draw sequential art. In other words, tell a story. And the reason I need to use comic books as an example is because hand-drawn animation has basically become extinct. Audience selection has chosen computer animation, and thanks to video games and the copious amount of electronic devices we use in everyday life, there are far more people who are handy with a mouse than a pencil. Computer animation is a very unique process, and not every step requires someone who can draw. For a better look, I hope you'll click here to check out my behind-the-scenes tour of Blue Sky Studios and how they go about making an animated movie. So with a much bigger talent pool, we now have many more players in the animation game. At this point, you're familiar with them all. Pixar, DreamWorks, Disney Animation, Blue Sky Studios, Sony Animation, and Illumination Entertainment. Pretty darn crowded. But then just earlier this year, Canada's Toonbox Entertainment, in partnership with South Korea, had a big enough hit with The Nut Job that The Nut Job 2 is slated for January 2016. And just a few months earlier than that, RealFX got on the board with Freebirds. Now, while there's no Freebirds 2 in development, RealFX is now back with the Book of Life, and it's looking like a pretty solid entry. It's got an all-star voice cast with Diego Luna, Channing Tatum, and Zoe Saldana. Behind the camera is Jorge Gutierrez, moving up to feature films from television, the Nickelodeon show El Tigre, The Adventures of Manny Rivera. Just as Genndy Tartakovsky moved up from Dexter's Laboratory and Samurai Jack to Hotel Transylvania for Sony Animation. And producing the film, as well as adding even more star power, is celebrated Mexican filmmaker Guillermo del Toro. While Walt Disney was a friend to South America himself, back in those days Hollywood would never tailor a film to such a specific foreign demographic. However, not only has Hollywood become a far more global business, with Mexico itself a top market, but the Latino audience in America has grown. Why, just recently, Eugenio Derbez's Instructions Not Included became the highest grossing Spanish language film ever in the US, with around 45 million. Not bad. So, does the Book of Life represent where Hollywood animation is headed, or is it just a nice try?
Visually, The Book of Life is a stunning film, and I had heard the director, Gutierrez, say that his goal in making The Book of Life was to create a film that was as beautiful as the concept art for it, and I think he has 100% achieved that goal with the film. I also think this is a wonderful Valentine to Mexican culture. I finally understand the Day of the Dead and why it's such a popular and respected holiday in Mexico. Of course, I had heard of it before, but I never quite understood exactly what was going on, and this movie does a fantastic job of introducing it and celebrating it. And I also have to wonder if, just like China did with Kung Fu Panda from DreamWorks Animation, if the Mexican film industry isn't going to look at this film and say, hey, why didn't we make that? I also thought that the voice acting here was very, very good. Now, of course, everyone did a good job, but the real standout was, I have to say, Channing Tatum, because this role allowed him to do so many things that you would think would be outside of his comfort zone, but totally are in his comfort zone. He just really goes for it. He has no ego, no fear of looking foolish, and as a result, he doesn't come off as looking foolish at all. Now, of course, Diego Luna and Zoe Saldana, to be fair, have more serious, straightforward roles. They're, our hero and heroine, so they don't have as much room to play as Tatum does. So that's why I think maybe they don't stand out quite as much. It's just because of the material. But despite those three things, the visuals, the Mexican culture, and the voice work, for some reason, The Book of Life didn't totally click for me. And I thought about it, and I decided the reason is because it skews very young. Now, for very young viewers, it's a wonderful film because it has so many great lessons. Lessons that I think you would want any younger viewer to be exposed to in many different areas. It covers a surprising amount of life lessons in one single film, but I guess it is called The Book of Life. And again, as I said, those visuals are so good, and it's so nice to see another culture celebrated by Hollywood that older viewers who happen to see the movie will certainly have something to distract them from a very traditional and simplistic story. Now, as some of you I'm sure will bring up, I had said that Frozen skewed pretty young as well, but that was popular with people of all ages. And again, both films had, I think, what are very important messages. And I'm curious to see if the messages incorporated in this movie will help it maybe do better as well, even though the storytelling might not be up to par. But at the same time, the messages here, I think, aren't as groundbreaking as those in Frozen, which had a lot to do with girl power. There's some girl power elements here, but in the more traditional sense. But I think the big difference between Frozen and The Book of Life is the music. I think we can all agree that Frozen owes a great deal of its success to its music. And while there are a handful of original songs here, none of them are showstoppers in The Book of Life, and none of them are even memorable. In fact, as someone who's not a big music fan, well, I enjoy music, obviously, but I don't have a lot of knowledge about music, so I couldn't even pick out all of the original songs for you, because they do use some other famous songs. They reuse them, almost like a cover band. And when they did that, when I could recognize a popular song that had originated somewhere else, it actually even went so far as to take me out of the story. So the Book of Life comes very close to greatness, and it is very good on multiple levels, but I don't think it's an instant classic. I would say that Pixar can't go ahead and still make that Dia de los Muertos movie that they have planned. I think that's still something they can pursue, especially because I think it'll be much darker and more sophisticated, which is kind of Pixar's specialty at this point. However, I would like to point out that because there's so much talent, obviously, now in the animation pool, thanks to computer animation, that everybody has to step up their game across the board, including, unfortunately, this movie, because the bar is just getting really high. So, Book of Life, if you have younger viewers that in your family or that that you'd like to take to the movie, I think this is going to be a great thing for you to go and do. If you're interested in Mexican culture, be it your own or something you want to be exposed to, this is also a fantastic movie to go see. And I also, by the way, recommend the 3D. Animation continues to be where 3D is best utilized. The picture stays bright, and I think they do a good job really having things pop out of the screen. But it's a breathtaking, beautiful movie. I just wish the storytelling was a little bit more mature and sophisticated. All right, so that's my review of The Book of Life. If you've seen the film, I hope you'll leave your own thoughts down below. Thank you so much for tuning into my review, and you can check out some more episodes right now.